welcome to Engineering Design in Omniverse. And Edmar, he got stuck on his commute again. Oh, there he is. I think you're muted, Edmar. I can't hear you.
I was going to say the teleportation device took a little bit warm to warm up today because it's so cold in Vermont. How's it going?
Well, good. I found out we had that cliffhanger last week, and I found out what the problem was.
What was it?
It's always feels a little better when I figure it out versus it magically starts working or that sort of thing, you know.
So you're going to reveal that secret in a few minutes?
Oh yeah, but first we've got some big news, right?
Big news. Yeah, big news. So GTC is weeks away now. I got the slide up on the screen. There's some really cool opportunities that goes along with GTC. Obviously, if you're coming, we want to know about it. I'll post the link to a survey in a minute that tells us if you're coming and if we can help you with meetings or if you want to meet with one of us, one of our partners. We want to make the most of your time since you're coming out there. And there's also great session lists coordinated by topic. So if you're a creator, we have a full session list for creators. If you're into synthetic data generation, we have sessions revolving around SDG. So we'll post that link in a second too. There's also a great discount that I didn't even know about until recently. It is an alumni discount. So if you have ever been to GTC before, either on site, like in person, or virtually, there's a 40% discount if you use the same email when registering for this GTC. All you have to do basically is use the same email, and then the discount should apply automatically. So that's pretty awesome and great incentive to come. And then we also have an opportunity if you like. So obviously one of the biggest things about GTC is the keynote by Jetson. We have a ton of people on our side finalizing the content for that keynote, along with partners and customers and users all over the world. And we would love to include your work out there. So if you've got anything that you think would be great to highlight and worth including in our sizzle reel, we have a form. I'll put that in the chat also. We have a form you can use to let us know about your work, and we will send it to the team, the marketing team, and hopefully you'll be selected to be part of that sizzle reel. How awesome would that be to be seen by thousands and thousands and thousands of people, to be included, and including Jetson himself will obviously be seeing it. So some great opportunities. And Eric also has an awesome discount code. So if you've never been to GTC before, this is your first one, we invite you to come anyway. And there's still a discount. Where is it? Here it is. It is a 25% discount that will apply itself automatically as long as you use this link that I'm putting in the chat right now. Why isn't it pasting?
Yeah, and you can use this link to register for the live event or the virtual event. Both work.
Yeah. And we definitely encourage people to register sooner than later. There's a one big benefit to registering sooner than later, even if you're coming virtually, is so that you get all the latest news and updates up to leading to GTC. Any change of news, new sessions, any special events that we have. We're planning a couple of really cool, fun things for people who are coming on site, which is why we'd love to know if you're coming. Yeah, it's going to be blessed. Eric, you're going to be presenting there, right? The whole topic of the live stream revolves around your session.
Yeah, so this live stream, this workflow we've been working on in the live stream, I'm building that up or writing that up as about an hour and a half hands-on lab. And so if you join us live at GTC, we're going to go through this in just less than 2 hours. And at the end, we're going to have a race, and whoever has the fastest car, so whoever's car can get around the track in the shortest time, will win a Jetson.
That's awesome.
Either an Orin or an AGX snare. I'm not sure which if they're going to get, but it could be either way. I mean,
wow. If you didn't have a reason to come before, now you do.
Oh yeah. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I mean, of course we want you there virtually, but you can't win. You can't win the Jetson if you don't come in person. So
how fun would that be? I can't wait. I can't wait for this.
And of course, I'd love to meet you in person, face to face. There's something really fun about that.
It's amazing. So, Eric, how are you handling meetings yet? Because we have actually, there's an app that will be available. I think it goes live 2 weeks before GTC. It's called Brain Date. It's our official kind of meeting app, so you can find out who's attending and send them a request to link. So we'll be promoting that 2 weeks before GTC. So very soon. But until then, if you want to start making plans early, absolutely feel free to reach out to me via email, edmartinvidia.com, and I'll help you connect with whoever you need. If you want to meet with the community team or the Inception team or someone from the Isaac team or Eric and his colleagues, Jen and Ashley, Mario. I think Mario will be there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm maybe that's not true. I hope he's
I
coming.
don't know. I hope so. I don't
That'd
know.
be awesome.
I just haven't. I've been so busy writing my lab that I haven't asked him.
Uh-huh. I'll ask him in a minute.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell him he has to come because I just told everybody he's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's GT is going to be a lot of fun. So we hope as many of you out there can attend and celebrate with us and learn with us, and we want to learn from you also. And I can't tell you how much your work out there inspires the work we do every day. So to be able to meet you personally and learn more about your projects and see how we can help would definitely be an honor for anyone on our team. So. Yeah, so that's GTC.
Cool. Yeah, I can't wait, and I hope. I'm sure I don't know how. I've never used this app to do meetings before, so I'm not sure how it works. But I would be so delighted to meet with any of you and hear about what you're doing with Omniverse. If you've got a business model or a plan, I would just love to hear about it. Help you with it. If you're stuck with some technical issues, let's talk about it in person. Bring your laptop. Yeah, that's great. I can't wait.
Did you book already? You got your travel all taken care of?
Got my flights.
All right, awesome. So now it's official.
Don't have a hotel room, so I'm not sure where I'm going to sleep.
Listen, if you're ever in a jam, you can crash with me. I got looks like it's a big room, plenty of space. So let me know if you're stuck.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So what are we doing today? You're gonna so let's talk about that bug. You mentioned a bug that you squashed.
Yeah. Let's add this. Here we've got the scene. I've got the scene open, and I'm going to switch to my robot factory here. Let me just slow there we go. Let's run this simulation. There we go. And let's see if I can shift click onto this thing or not. Sometimes I have trouble with shift click on my Linux computer. I'll just show you in the simulation on Windows. So let me just switch over to my workstation here. And what all do I have to do here? A couple of things. I got to connect to VPN and launch Isaac Sim. Sorry, there's always something, isn't there?
That's right. I see. We have a couple of nice regulars in the chat. Captain, what's up, Captain?
Yeah.
Welcome to the stream. All right. I think Eric will be back in 1 second. So hang tight. There he is.
There you go. Sorry about that. VPN connection. Always does that.
Luckily, you were frozen in a good position, so it looked almost like you were just
flattering,
focused.
Just launched an Isaac Sim. For some reason, the shift click isn't working for me on my Linux machine. If you don't know, while you're running a simulation, you can hold shift and click on objects to kind of manipulate them, kind of apply forces to them and play with them. And I'll just kind of show you what was going on here. Oh, wrong screen. Let's try this again. There we go. Struggling. Let's see here. There we go. Open that scene up.
So while you're opening this up, I think we have a new viewer here. Mario.
Oh, really?
probably pronouncing his name incorrectly, but he's asking what platform is best for NVIDIA Omniverse. So that's kind of a interesting question because Omniverse is a platform, but I guess you're talking about maybe which operating system. Is that probably what you're asking, Marty? And I guess what I'll do is I'll post the technical requirements for Omniverse. There's some I think you're using Windows. Obviously, most people are using Windows operating system, and we'll post the exact hardware specs would be best. But depending on what you're doing, like for example, Isaac, I believe you could run Linux. So it really kind of depends. But most stuff with Omniverse is Windows based.
Well, unless you're doing a lot of robotics.
Right.
So if you are working with ROS in particular, then Ubuntu 22.04 is what you'll want to be using. But a lot of people do virtual machines or a dual boot or that sort of thing. Yeah, and that like I have I'm just having a hard. We're struggling today. I'm gonna just kill. This has been working fine all week. No problems.
It's because Jen's not here.
I know.
All right. Well, let me see. I found the technical requirements link, so I'll post this.
Again here.
And then, obviously, if you're just getting started and want to dig in, the best place to start is the documentation page. We have really nice, organized documentation area, always improving, adding more examples. And then for official support, definitely leverage the Omniverse forums where we have a development team helping people there. And if you want to kind of engage with the community, other people who are using Omniverse, head to our Discord. Some of our devs hang out there also, but I wouldn't go there for official support. Use the forums because we can track everything there.
Well, I'm kind of getting this. Well, I'm going to show you the debugging stuff on my Windows computer, but while we're figuring that out, I might as well just launch this thing. I'll show you that it drives itself. Let's see. CD source. Let's see. CD sample. CD ROS 2 stuff. We're going to do Python 3. We're just going to start it here. Okay, you ready?
Do it.
Boom. Come on, buddy.
Oh, there you go.
You see it? It's steering. It's going to make the corner. This is where we find out if it's going to work or not.
Nice.
Edmar, you got to show your hands, Edmar. I want him to know that you're not controlling it.
It's off. That's amazing. That's awesome.
It's a self-driving car.
That is so wild.
Can you believe it? It's so cool. I just go watch this for hours. That is.
So the ground is flat, right? So, but you see a little bit of
wibbly wobbly.
What is that from?
It's just from the joints not being perfect.
Okay.
Especially where we have these little teeny tiny parts. I mean, the parts of this car are just like this long and weigh like a gram or 10 grams or something. There's little teeny tiny parts, and it gives. I mean, this is really a tough like test for this solver. The fact that it can do this at all is amazing.
Yeah, very
because
cool.
We've got really tiny light parts and the camera's just like rigidly attached behind the chassis. So if the chassis shakes at all,
I see. No, I mean it looks more realistic.
Yeah,
a little bit of shake there.
A little camera shake, right?
Yeah, we've all done those tricks before. Anyone who's out there worked on video games before?
Yeah. And I've got a great question. I love this question. Can you throw in some cubes as obstacles? I definitely could. The car would have no idea what to do with those cubes because we don't have any training data that teaches it how to drive around cubes. So what you could do is you could add some obstacles to the scene, and then you could train it, go back to the trainer and add those data points of, well, what do you do if you see a cube? Have it, teach it how to drive around obstacles. But yeah, it's just going. just driving around the track.
No complaints. It is
Yeah.
nonstop. It's on lap 3, I think.
Yeah. It cruises. And I have it going a little slow. I'll just tell you a little hint, a little behind the scenes info is we have been able to get it to drive significantly faster, but the code in the lab is not going to show you how to do that. And that's on purpose because that's going to be your racer's edge. When you come,
see.
For those of you who come to GTC in person, I'm going to have the basic, just a slow drive speed, and you get to figure out how fast you can get that. So how fast can you get to drive? And you can do more than just increase the constant drive speed. You can make that drive speed variable. So depending on what you get back from the AI model, you don't have to just use that for the steering. You can interpret that data how you want to make it increase that throttle a little bit and make it drive faster. And my hunch is whoever does the best job of you got to train a decent model. It doesn't have to be fantastic. Our model, if I showed you our evaluation data on this a few weeks ago, it was kind of always steering to the left. And it was jumping around. It's not perfect, but you don't need perfect data. We can kind of work with that in the interpretation. And I think whoever can, one, get a decent model trained quickly, and then two, get the car tuned and how it drives is going to win that race and win that Jetson. So
I'm very excited.
Yeah. So let's see. Oh, let me launch. I got Isaac Sim running again on this computer. Let's I love this quick save and quick load. It's such a nice feature. And by the way, I learned from that having these layer and stage panes both visible and the properties. I love this layout. It's so much easier to work if you're composing these complex UST scenes. Anyway, let's get back to it. Let's open the scene and try again. Is it loading? Yes. All right. Okay. I don't know what's going on. I wonder if it's because I have the scene like I'm on Nucleus and I've got the scene open on both computers or something like that.
You said you're off VPN now, right? Or on it?
I'm on VPN. So I'll just show you. I'll just explain the bug so we can move on. And I'll just kind of put something in here on Robot Factory. So if you notice, it was driving fine. One bug that I solved in the live stream was that the wheels didn't have drives on them. And so if the wheel joints don't have drives on them, then ROS doesn't know what to drive, right? We fixed that live. But then even though it was driving and the wheels were turning, it just couldn't make those turns. And what happened is, if you look at the car, I went to the chassis, and usually, and it seems like the simulation just wasn't working right, and usually when the simulation is just really awful, like things are exploding and things are just acting weird, that's usually a mass properties problem, right? Usually what that means is that, like if, let's say that our car was 20 meters long, or in this case, when I first brought it in, it was like 100 times as big. And so the car was like 100 meters long. It was like the size of a house or a warehouse, really. And then so if you have this warehouse sized thing, and then you have, and then the mass of that is 1 kilogram, just imagine that. If you had a warehouse that weighed 1 kilogram, or if you had a warehouse that weighed 10 grams, well, it would be like a balloon, right?
Right.
And so you'll see it just kind of like almost floating. And honestly, that makes sense, right? Because you have this huge, anyway, so that's a scaling problem. Or Or what if you had this car and it weighed, I don't know what the default weights are. So what if the auto calculated weight was like 1,000 kilograms for this car? It's just not going to work right, you know? And so one of the first things you look at if your simulations are working just really awfully is, are my mass properties correct? And so I did that. And let's look at these. So if I select the chassis and scroll down to look at the mass properties, I had values in there. And I don't know why, to be honest, but there are values for the center of mass, small values like 0.01, negative 0.03, stuff like that. And that's not such a big deal. But then this diagonal inertia, let's just set those values to 1, 1, 1. And the diagonal inertia, I think it's also would be called the rotational moment of inertia. And what that means is how hard is it to get this thing to rotate? And the way I could tell that was really messed up is when I would shift click and pick up the car, I could pick up the car from like a wheel and the whole car would just go straight up without rotating.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then slowly it would sink down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's not right. If I pick it up by a wheel, it should just be like, it should tilt as I pick it up. Anyway, let's see here. And so I just put those numbers in. So let's run the simulation. The auto driver should still be going. Let's see what happens. Let's see if it can make the turn. Watch, it'll make the turn. No, but you see, even though the wheels,
it made the turn.
It made the turn.
Did the values get saved? They did, right?
Yeah, I didn't remember the exact values, but we can just crank those up until it won't turn. I'm pretty confident. So I'm just increasing this inertia. We need to look at the units here. If non-zero specified, mass times distance. So it's a mass moment of inertia. Yeah, let's try that one. Just trying to break it again. I forget what the values were. Yeah, see, look, I don't know if you noticed, but those wheels turned, but it just like slid forward. Ready? There we go. And that's what we saw last week, right?
Oh, no.
Yeah, I can't. The wheels are turning, but it's like, you see how slowly the car is turning? And that was the problem on last week's live stream. So there you go.
Oh, that's cool. That's good to know.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. We got a few interesting questions here.
From Sebastian.
Oh, okay. Oh, I guess that's not a question. It's more of a comment. All right.
There's a question there at the end. Let me see. Here you go.
Do you know a solution how to reduce the delay, the dead time? Let's see. Oh, okay. Let's get this his second comment on there so that people can see what he's saying. OmniGraph ROS2 drive subscribe joint state block. As feedback, I used velocity. The control signal in the Isaac sim is delayed, so okay. You know, I don't know the answer to that question. However, have you heard about the ROS office hours?
Yeah, maybe Wednesday.
Can you post a link to those or something?
Yeah, I'll post a link.
And then let's see. And then not only that, so that's one thing you can do. Then also we have an Isaac Sim channel, and there are a lot of people using ROS, so on Discord. So we can ask the question there, and you can ask the question on the forums. And I can specifically, if you're asking questions, we track, and if their question's not getting answered, I'm starting to help out with those where I can. And we're getting some internal folks answering those questions. So
yeah, the forum. I'll post the forum actually link also, so you don't have to wait for the office hours on next Wednesday. But
That's a great question.
So this is an Isaac Ross question more than Isaac Sim.
No, it's Isaac Sim. Sorry, I get.
Okay.
Let me just see what he said specifically, because he's talking about an OmniGraph ROS 2, which is that's the Isaac Ross bridge question. So, oh, I love this question. Absolutely, we just there. You okay? Yes, it's absolutely for you. So, I mean, even these live streams are for you, because I know we're coding in this one, but you should check out Ashley codes too. But what she mostly works with? Does she mostly work with USD Composer? And so Ashley is a developer and an artist, is the way I describe her. And so we have a lot of 3D artists who use USD Composer, and yeah. So no, I think you'll find a lot of really interesting stuff at GTC, including a lot of Gen AI stuff. And generative AI that does 3D is getting more common. And
Earlier in the chat, I posted a link to a forum post that Amelia made, and it breaks down sessions by topic. And one of those topics is creators. So I just posted the direct link to that group of sessions for creators. So that's in the chat. You should see plenty of stuff there. But yeah, we're gonna have good mix of creators, coders, business folks at GTC. Leveraging AI and OpenUSD for their businesses. So going to be a great mix of people, but definitely check out the forum post if you scroll back in your chat a little bit.
Well, I think Lee Frazier has a session where he goes through workflows specifically for 3D artists, where he'll link Maya and Omniverse and show some workflows there with between like Maya and Blender and Omniverse. And we've got Houdini people. I don't know. We have a lot of 3D artists, to be sure.
Not only that, actually, the second part of his kind of comment or question about GTC regarding OpenUSD, there's an OpenUSD day at GTC. So a full day with sessions around OpenUSD. I'm going to post a link for that in the chat as well, because that's actually going to be a lot of fun. I hope everyone who comes to GTC, I hope you attend that, because it's going to be breakfast in the morning. So we get to hang out, have some coffee and donuts together. And then they're also planning a little surprise for the end of the day, which I can't announce yet, but there's going to be good fun. So that's why we want everyone to let us know if you're coming, so we can make sure we include you on those things.
Then Sebastian's asking if we have a link to the Discord channel. Absolutely. And he had another comment. The commands from ROS 2 come in time, so it's more of an Isaac Sim issue. And it can actually also be to do with layers and that sort of thing. It's like one problem I had with the Isaac Ross bridge recently is that I had a layered pipeline, and if you're let me show real quick. No, not this one. Let me just show you real quick a little bit about layers. If you look at these, I'll open the F110, just the car by itself, just to show you. You'll notice I've got all these layers in my layers pane right here. And notice that materials.usd is the green edit layer. So if I try to simulate this right now, nothing happens. Do you see that? Well, what the heck? Well, what's going on is that it's trying to move the car in materials.usd, and there must be some positions set in a layer above that, and these higher layers take precedence. So if you're adding all these deltas to a lower layer, the car just won't move.
So you have to do it to the
so
top,
I just took
top layer?
I made the root layer the edit layer.
I see.
And now it'll simulate. And there are a number of kind of gotchas like that within Omniverse that can get you when you're using ROS, where maybe the action graphs are fine, but but you've got the wrong layer as an edit layer, or or there are deltas in a higher layer that shouldn't be there. And just as a tip, whenever I simulate, if you look at materials, do you see how it has the blue safe icon? That is because when I hit simulate, it added a whole bunch of deltas to this layer as the position of the car changed. And that's not good. We only want to have the edits we want in the layer. And that is why I always leave the root layer empty on purpose, so that when I stop my simulations, I know there should be no deltas in there. I'll just blow them away. And there are these kind of deltas that get added whenever you simulate. So just something to keep in mind.
Good tips. Good tips from Uncle Eric.
Thanks. Just some things I've kind of learned as I've been rigging this thing. All right. So the car drives itself. What next, right? And so I have, there are two directions we can go from here, and both I think are really interesting. And I'm really curious from you viewers where you'd like to go next. So one direction we can have is right now we are working well in the simulated world, but of course we would like it to work in the real world. So one thing we can do is start working on the deployment of this model to the real world and how to train it in such a way that everything works. The other option is more geared towards GTC, and that is and towards reinforcement learning. So right now we're using supervised learning, right? We drive this car on the track and we tell it where it should drive. We collect this data set, and we're using that to train our AI model. Well, the next step in kind of a really cool step in training AIs is called reinforcement learning. With reinforcement learning, we just let 1,000 of these cars, 1,000 copies, drive around the track, and we have some kind of a reward system. And so we might start with this model we've trained by hand, which isn't super fast. And then what we might do is have a reward system. So we get 1,000 of those, not specifically 1,000, right? Some large number, but we get it driving around the track. And if it hits a cone, we give it kind of a penalty, or we just say, okay, that's as far as you made it. But if it makes it all the way around the track, we give it a reward. And I think we should also want to have a reward if it makes it around the track quickly. Then we give it a reward. And so one critical piece of that puzzle is we need some way, almost like checkpoints. If you've driven like a race car game, you go through checkpoints, right? Well, we need checkpoints so that we can put checkpoints around the track. And then whenever the car goes from checkpoint 1 to checkpoint 2, we give it a reward, and a higher reward the faster it gets between 1 and 2, right? And then also, and we want to have checkpoints all the way around the track, so that if it, like, for example, if it just goes through checkpoint 1 and then like does a little teeny circle and goes to checkpoint, the last finish line, we don't want that to be the winning car. We want it to go all the way around the track, for example. So, and so far, people are saying RL would be really cool. And I'm kind of leaning towards that, trying to work on these checkpoints in the rest of this session, start to build those, if that's okay with everyone. And then what I want to do next Thursday is I want to come a little more prepared with a LiDAR scan of an actual location and see if we can just train a model in a more realistic location and start from there as far as sim to real goes. Because
that'd be great.
Would that be cool? So yeah. Today we work on checkpoints, and then next week we'll work a bit on sim to real.
What location are you thinking about for the LiDAR?
I have access to a basketball gym.
Nice.
During the week. And so I was just going to scan this basketball gym, and I've got these little like orange cones. Here, I'll get one.
Mm-hmm. You're going to scan. What's the process for scanning? Use your phone?
Yeah. There's this app called Polycam 3D that you can use to scan a room. And I've got an iPhone. It's got a LiDAR on it. So, but Polycam 3D works It'll use the LiDAR on an iPhone, but it actually works pretty well with photogrammetry if you got Android. So I'm not platform specific on that one. These are my cones.
Cool.
And there's another app, I forget its name, but there's another app you can use to do photogrammetry of smaller objects, or to kind of scan those in. So I thought I'd do that. Yeah, Polycam is really a nice little app. I'm a fan. And one cool thing about it is if you have a Pro account, it can export directly to USD.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's really easy to work with Omniverse.
Awesome.
So, but not if you have a different app that does FBX or OBJ, that's fine. You can import those into Omniverse. That's not a big deal. Yeah. So let's work on checkpoints. And I don't think it's going to be too bad. Let me just close this down. I'm just going to actually close the scene. And then I'm going to switch to my Windows computer because it has a little bit more real estate.
While Eric's doing that, I want to give a big thank you to everyone out there who filled out the documentation survey recently. I think the last day was on the 9th of February, but we got so much great data, really good participation. We're reviewing everything now, and it's really going to help the next updates to the documentation. So thank you, everyone out there who took the time to let us know how you're using Omniverse. And I was very surprised and impressed to see a lot of users Isaac was their main thing with Omniverse. Good chunk of people. So Eric,
the way I've heard it, it's like about a third of Omniverse users are using Isaac Sim, and that's honestly one reason I've been trying to do more Isaac Sim on my live stream is because, I just want to support you all.
That's great. And that's true. We're waiting for this to come up. What was the first thing you focused on when you started? You were doing CAD, right?
Yeah, I have a CAD background, and so that's really the most comfortable for me. Robotics is outside of my expertise, but I love it. It's so interesting and fun. It's tough because it's like this mix of, you've got mechanical engineering to design the robots, you've got electrical engineering to get the robots to work, and you've got computer science to code them up so they work. It's like it's multidisciplinary. And it's really just like, so I'm loving it. I think I'm like a polymath at heart. Like you can't ever declare yourself a polymath because that doesn't happen until someone else is gonna. It's like being a saint. You can't like say you're a polymath. It's someone else is gonna say that about you after you've died. But that's one of my life goals, is to, like, at my funeral, for people to say Eric Bowman was a polymath. He's loved learning about everything.
I will nominate you.
Thanks. Let's go. There we go. Let's open this scene. And this is my thought, okay? We don't have time to actually write this, so we're just gonna kind of pseudocode it, just talk about the process. And let's just create inside the world. Let's create a scope and rename that to be checkpoints. And then inside of that, let's just create a cube. And what we can do here, if I hit the R key, I get into scale mode. Okay. And then if I'm going to actually look at that cube's properties and I like to just, give it some reasonable values, right? We wanted to pass through there pretty early on. So let's actually I'd never get tired of RTX the way that, look at that reflection in the cube. I just never get tired of that.
That is so cool.
Oh, I love it. You move it away,
Yeah, wow.
get more clear. As I never get tired of that kind of thing. In the shadows, it just looks so good. All right, back on topic. It's fine if it goes to the ground. Let's just make it 5. Yeah. Make it really thin. And just make it 2. There we go. And my thought here is basically we're just going to take this cube, and we're going to listen for collisions between like the chassis and the cube. And we're not going to add a rigid body. I mean, if I hit the simulation now, well, we'll try it at the very end in case let's just try it. See if my hunch was right about the. I don't know. I know the problem is I need to. My drivers are out of date. That's why. I just got a notification that I need to update.
Bad boy.
Nah, I know better. Let's close this and relaunch it. So what we'll do is we'll listen for collisions between the car and this cube. And I'll write an extension that once it collides with the first one, it starts a timer going until it collides with the second one. And so, like, for example, I shouldn't have done that. But sorry, folks.
That's okay. Actually, this is a good opportunity to let everybody know something which is super exciting for people out there, Isaac fans. We talked about official support forum for Isaac. So we are actually looking for one or more people to help us on the Isaac forums as an official employee of NVIDIA. So there's an opportunity to work at NVIDIA on the Isaac team to help with support. So if you're watching this live stream and you love coding, you love Isaac, it's a great opportunity for you. And I can't, Eric will agree with me. I can't tell you enough. NVIDIA is, I think it's the best company to work for. It's amazing, amazing place, amazing people, amazing team, amazing, founder. Jetson is just amazing, amazing all around. So I just posted that role. Definitely, you know what? I just looked at there's a character limit on the chat, so you have to kind of copy those things and paste them into one. But you can go to the NVIDIA careers page and search for Isaac.
You could do like a bit.ly link.
Oh yeah, let me do that really quick. That's a good idea. Let me try that.
All right, so let's add that cube back in. Let's create a scope. And so what I do is write a extension. And the first thing it would do is go through the checkpoints and just read them in order, just however you have them ordered in there, and say, okay, you've got to pass through these checkpoints in order, and then it could keep track of the times from between checkpoints, and then of course the time for an entire lap when it gets to that last checkpoint again. That's my idea, and I'm curious what you all think of that. So let's see. Let's add a checkpoint again. Create a cube. That's probably just fine. It's like that. Take a look at it. Sure. Now let's see if we can make it transparent. Materials. So we can probably create a transparent material. Or you know what we could probably do is just hide it. The thing is, if we hide it, there we go. That's probably best, just to hide it, right? The thing is, I don't know for sure is if we hide it, how clear is that going to be? You know, I think another thing we could do is let's get this really close. Another thing we can do is make them glass, you know. Oh, sorry. Oh, Gus. Hey, what's going on, Gus? Sorry. Gus, I think, has been trying to message me. So let me see what he's saying here on Slack. Just a second.
Gus, come on to the live stream if you want.
Yeah, hop on in. We got 15 minutes left. Let me get you a link. No worries. I'll Slack you this link and you can join us. Yeah, hop on in. Oh, you know what Gus is trying to share with me is he's written the lapping system already.
Oh, awesome.
Lapper.usd. Well, let's bring it in. I'm going to, he shared a USD file with me. Let me just, let's see what this is all about.
I see him. He's coming in. He's on his way.
Cool.
He's teleporting.
I'm just going to open Lapper by itself. And not going to save this stage because I have no idea how he did it. We'll just redo it if we need to. Oh. Okay.
Here he is. Ooh, he's
Hi.
Hey.
He's in the dark.
I'm sorry.
No
I need to get streaming supplies because I need to get used to doing this more because I'm probably going to be doing this more.
Great.
I'm sorry about this.
No worries.
No, there's a ton. I'm sorry I'm late. There's been a lot going on in my life recently. A lot of awesome things happening in Isaacson that I can't wait to tell you guys about. But I was working on this. So this is a simple system for checking trigger events of a rigid body moving through a collider using the on-trigger node, and it's done entirely in OmniGraph. So there's no Python, there's no programming that has to be done. So we could set up this checkpointing system in OmniGraph like this. And if we break it up the right way, I think we could make the checkpoint graphs procedurally addable to tracks. So in our procedural track generator, we would have a way to just drop those
automatically add checkpoints.
Right. They would just be copies of that OmniGraph that gets fired off whenever it passes through. And then you'd have like some kind of like unifying script that just manages it all based on how many checkpoints you have, or you have a fixed number of checkpoints for like your possible size of tracks. But yeah, so if you go to the graph view, we can go over it quick if you want.
This is such a satisfying animation for some reason.
Yeah.
Isn't that just like a really satisfying animation?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I guess it's not an animation though; it's a simulation.
No, it is a simulation. Well, I mean, kind of. I mean, because it uses an animation node, but it's not actually using. Here, go to the graph, and we can.
Yeah. Lapper or Orbiter?
Orbiter will handle the animation for moving it around, and that's got some cool stuff in it we can go over if you want to. So
sure,
open graph at the bottom.
Open graph. And let's make this front and center here. I love how you can just drag the windows around. And
yeah, that is nice. Actually, I was watching Ashley's stream, and she has a whole I didn't realize that you could make layouts. I had no idea. I've been using this system since it was created. You can save layouts under profiles and then load them. I had no clue.
Right here under layout, and you can save them to a file and load specific ones.
Yeah,
great. I love this quick load, quick save. I just use that. But you will be really a cool extension for some enterprising individual. But to write a little, just like a little bar, kind of like this one. So that where the button, you could have buttons that were pointing to layouts. So you click a button. You know, like a lot of.
It reminds me of Final Fantasy. Actually, it's kind of like in Final Fantasy, you have all these buttons on the screen. It's a MMORPG, and you have different jobs that you play in the game. And most people assign a job to a button, and when you click the button, you change your job, and all of your abilities change with it. And that's exactly what they are in the game. They're on the side. There's a little bar on the side or on the bottom that you put.
Okay. Yeah. When I use DaVinci Resolve for my video editing, and it has that kind of functionality where you change layouts or anyway. Well, there's this animation software, there's this open source animation software. It's pretty common, like 3D art thing, I think, to have like the different layouts. Anyway, all right, let's look at this graph.
See, I'm not familiar with. I need
to on tick. This is our event loop. Is that right?
Yes.
This is where it's pretty common. Yes. What let's look at this double.
So I need to figure out how to properly label my graphs, and I wish there was a way I could change these. Like instead of constant double, I wish I could say frequency, right?
Yeah. Let's see. You can't just rename it. Yeah, you can right here. No, you can't.
Does it? Yeah. See.
Select.
There's a lot of little paper cuts on the bleeding edge.
No, that's all right. Here we go. Constant double. Let's try here. This is like the.
Yes, the top one, that should be frequency, angular frequency.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The frequency is 360?
It's in degrees per second.
Okay, that changed it there, but it's not there. I wonder if we reopen the graph, if it'll update. No.
Yeah, I think it's a bug.
Well, yeah, we should talk to. That would be nice if this had the name of the prim there.
Yeah, there are probably a lot of those that I know about that I should probably document better.
We got to report. This is our fault. We don't report them like we should.
Oh, I get so into solving the problem that I want to keep going, and I'm like, I find a workaround, and I know I have to stop and like write it down. And so I whipped this up real quick so I could come on here and show you guys. All right. So the top node is the frequency, the bottom node is the amplitude, and because it's just going around in a circle, right? So we're just doing amplitude, then sine omega t, for the y, and then cosine omega t for the x, or vice versa, depending on how you have them hooked up. And then I just fetch the time from the tick, and I calculate those two parameters, and then I use the translate to location. And I guess that's not an animation node. I thought it was, but I guess it's not. But this has like an easing factor, right? So this will move a prim between two locations, and it moves it with a like a velocity and an easing factor. So it has an exponent and a speed that define how the prim moves from point to point B. But if you crank the speed up to like a large number, it just sets the position of the prim, and
so it'll be like jerky.
It's not. It's yeah. If it's sampling frequently enough, it won't look jerky. But if it's infrequently enough, it will look jerky. Yeah. So it's kind of a. But there are a lot of different ways to go about moving a prim around. You know, I could have fetched the attribute from the prim and then directly written the value to that specific. There probably are, and I don't know how to use them. I have a lot I need to learn.
Well, and you could certainly, if you wanted to add comments, let's just look at this omnigraph, right? Or like, oh, you mean like a group node?
Yeah, there are like highlighted boxes that you can put in the background of the omnigraph.
Yeah, I've seen those in
this part is and
Unreal.
That part is.
I know so little about OmniGraph.
Yeah, I know, right? I think they're called frames in OmniGraph.
Nodes, variables.
Do you know about variables? Variables are awesome. When variables happened, that was mind blowing for me. I use those in the. Well, you can I use them in the lapper, I think.
Yeah. Man,
Yeah, I do.
I've got a lot to learn. Let's just delete this. Oh, yeah. But let's get on to the
Lapper, the next one. Yeah. So
That's
the Lapper is also super easy.
It's easy. Be careful.
Sorry.
Guys, sometimes things that are easy for you are not easy for me. I'm just
that's I also experienced this. All right, just with different things. Yeah. So in this one we have.
That's good to know.
Yeah. So
really want to see more OmniGraph content from Captain Bronson.
So we have 2 on trigger nodes. We have 1 for each cylinder, right? And then
Sinan, just a second. Sorry. Let's make the car drive itself coding on the side while watching. Sorry, man, you're too late. We've already done that. You missed it. That's what we did. We finally finished that today. We got the car driving itself. And coded as we went. Had lots of roadblocks. Sorry. Okay, let's go back to this. And I want to make sure we leave like 2 minutes at the end so I can show the car driving itself one last time.
I can show you this in detail, and then if you want, you should do the stream. I didn't want to interrupt things.
No. This is exactly what we were starting to talk about. So this is perfect. We have on trigger. So what is it? Mm-hmm. So here's an on trigger event. Can you set that trigger?
Yes, and I learned how to do this. I learned how to use this from Ashley. From her, she has 3 streams where she goes over how to use trigger nodes, and they're also kind of finicky because they're on the bleeding edge, so it's a little bit sharp, and we're still rounding out the corners and stuff. Yeah. But you specify the objects that have the trigger property that you want to monitor with the trigger node. So if you go and you click on the cylinder prim, either of them, cylinder 1 or cylinder 2. And then in the properties pane, if you scroll down to the physics section, you'll find the collider, and there's also a trigger applied. Now, when I first started using this, I couldn't find how to apply a trigger API, but the trigger API is hidden in the add menu on the prim and only appears if the prim has a collider already applied. So in order to apply a trigger, you have to apply a collider first, and then go back into the menu, and there will be a new option there that says trigger, and that's how you add the trigger.
I'm just going to delete this trigger.
Yeah. Yep. So just delete it.
So what we do is we come up here, we go add.
Yep. Physics.
At
the bottom. Physics. Trigger. Yep. And that option isn't there unless the thing you're clicking on already has a collider. So I spent an hour or so like, where's the trigger? How do I find the trigger? Then, so from when a rigid body passes through that volume, it's going to trigger, which will cause an execution flow from that point. So then I just print the text. So if you go into the console and you click on the information button, so you should be able to see when it's running. It'll go trigger A, trigger B, and then every time it goes through trigger B, it prints a time.
Okay.
And so it's showing how much time it takes to go from trigger A to trigger B.
Cool.
Right. So then the variables. So I have the thing with OmniGraph is that you need a way to save information from time step to time step, because the graph execution happens all at once per time step. If it's
also time A and time B, they don't show up in the graph.
They do. They're those 2 solid green nodes, right? That's time A and time B. So that's a write node and a write node for the time A variable. Right?
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yes. And so if you mouse over it, you see how there's a read and write. You can click and drag or read and click, or click and drag or write, and that's how you read the value or write the value at that time.
Got it. This is cool.
So every time it triggers, I update the value stored in time A or time B, and then on only one of the triggers, when only one of them triggers, I have a secondary graph that goes back and just calculates the difference between them, and then converts it to a string and then prints it. So if you swap which one of those is printing, you'll get negative 0.5 seconds instead of 0.5 seconds, right? So this could be a method by which we could set up like an arbitrary graph, right?
Yeah.
That we could then copy. And I think there's new functionality in OmniGraph that lets you take a complicated graph like this one, specify external inputs and outputs and convert it into a new node that can be included onto other graphs.
Oh, I
So,
heard about that. I didn't,
yes. So
okay.
I want to learn how to do that because that seems super cool.
Okay. Well, cool.
Man, I'm glad, Michael. You got to pop in here for this last part. It's
I
awesome,
know, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry I was late. I was preoccupied, and
You
I
came
totally
just in
spaced.
time. Perfect timing.
Yeah, it was perfect timing. And on the side here, I'm opening up. See, I'm going to open up the car one more time on Robot Factory, and just show everyone the car running.
Here we
I
go.
think it's still.
Buckle up.
So you actually got this working? Oh, what? Look at that! Holy
know,
cow!
Right? Hands up! They got to know that we're not controlling it, right?
That's fantastic.
It's driving.
I can't get over how effective this simple supervised policy is within this.
It's funny because it's like I took 400. There are 400 images in my data set.
Yeah. So here's the next question
that's
going to be
fun. Which is a minuscule data set.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out that is
like nothing.
Is nothing. People will be like, you can't do anything with 400 images if you ask. But boom, here we are.
Yeah.
400
so you could do this method on a real track, right?
Yes.
So
that's what we're going to do next week. So next week. So all right. So I'm just going to call out Gus a little bit, throw him under the bus a little bit, but Gus and some of his team, I think that this sim to real thing is a little bit far fetched. But if I take a reality capture of like a basketball gym and have it in that scene and then train it in that scene, do you think that we might be able to do sim to real?
If the reality, so that is another method that can be done for sim to real transfer, which is to ensure that your training environment is as close to the real deployment environment as possible. So if you're in a digital twin of the gymnasium where this is going to be deployed, and you train it inside this digital twin, and then you deploy it, I think transfer might be possible.
Yeah.
Personally, for me,
and that's my goal, is to make a believer out of people who are a little skeptical of this whole sim to real thing. So
no, I'm definitely not skeptical of sim to real. I just have my own ideas of how to do it.
Yeah. Well,
when it comes to experiments, though, I have an interesting experiment that we could do. So a common thing that would be tried would be to train it in the simulation like you have here, and then you put this on a real robot car on a track that's set up like an oval but an environment it's never seen. You expect it to do very poorly, right?
Yeah, that's a little different. That's a
well,
little
what
different story.
what if we train this robot car with real data?
Yeah.
How will it perform in the simulation? Will it perform as poorly as it goes in the opposite direction or not?
Yeah,
and
that's a great
I'm not sure about how that would, because there's a lot of additional information that's in like real measured sensor data that isn't captured in the simulation, and it might be broad enough that it could function in this very specific simulation. So I'm curious. I'm just curious about what that might be like.
Yeah, totally.
Sounds like an upcoming live stream to me.
Yeah,
could be fun.
There's so many. I think what I'm really excited about is we have this functional platform, and we can go sim to real, we can go reinforcement learning, I even had the idea of coming up with an air bearing, and we can do like a differential robot, we could do an air bearing robot, so we could replace the RC car with different robots that drive differently, and it's just really fun. This is really a fun platform to start with. So thank you everyone for tuning in. We are out of time, and I think it's been great. And next week we're going to work some more on sim to real, and depending on how far Gus gets, we might be able to show off. I hope we can show off the timer here on the track. Maybe we'll get that far. We're not sure. Oh, thanks, Sirens. You guys are. I just want to say that the community, you viewers, your comments, your questions, that's what makes this an interesting live stream, and that's what makes it fun for me.
+1 for me.
Yeah,
I agree.
All right, so we'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.